On today's show, Ja Morant drops like 30 spots in ESPN's top 100. Has he gotten that much worse? Why? We'll talk about that and where we agree with the NBA GM survey and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everyday and subscribing, following for free, making Locked On NBA your first listen every day, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section where you agree with the NBA GM survey, what you think they got wrong, all that kind of stuff. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And joining me, as always on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
The fact that you and Kyrie Irving have something in common is pretty cool.
We live in the same city.
Neither of you care about lists.
We will talk about the NBA GM survey. We'll do Count It Up, where, of course, we'll talk about Kai Jones. What a week Kai Jones had this week. We'll talk about him and Count It Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. But I want to start here. Okay. To be fairly transparent, I did not want to start here. The ESPN Top 100 list continues to come out. They've gone 100 to 11 so far. They've revealed those. And I can't stand these lists. I don't. The list of, all right, they ask ESPN personalities, which player will be better in 2023-24? And then they put a bunch of them in front of you, and you're like, all right, you have to pick which one's above the other one. And so you're telling me I have to pick who's going to be better in 2023-24 between Karl Anthony Towns and Tyrese Halliburton. The things that they're asked to do are so different to me. Okay, Domantas Sabonis and Trae Young. Who's going to be better between those two players next year? Like, things that they're asked to do. So I don't like these lists.
Yeah. I get you, but I mean, like, let's be real, right? Like, we know that there's.
You don't have to defend lists. You don't have to defend lists.
I'm not defending lists, but I mean, like, we're not gonna act like we don't know that there's a better player between Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid, right? Like, we don't. Like, I know that one of them is the better player, even though they're asked to do different things. We have our top 5 guys. Like, I can rock with that.
It's the ones that are so different to me. The Jaren Jackson
ones
Jr.
that are wild.
Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Brunson. What? Like, okay. They're asked to do such different things. Although I looked at the list today, and somebody popped up, Ja Morant. He was 35th on this list, where he was number 9 last year. And I've just got to say, that seems like a steep drop. And so we're going to talk about if it's warranted, why he fell that much, if we're undervaluing Ja Morant with this list, if Ja Morant, the on-court stuff, their off-court stuff has caught up to him. So ESPN, they get asked the question, which player will be better in 2023-24? Ja Morant, I guess, got docked for his 25-game suspension next year. He got docked for his off-the-court issues. That was mentioned in the reason why he fell 26 spots from the season before to now. But here are the players that are above him. Let's play a game. Stop me if you think Ja Morant will be better in 2023-24 than any of these players. Kyrie Irving. Just say yes or no.
No.
Mikal Bridges.
Yes.
Jalen Brunson.
Yes.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yes.
Paolo Banchero.
I'm gonna say yes because of what I've seen.
I think Ja will be better.
I'm gonna say yes because of what I've seen, but Paolo might be cooking this season.
Trae Young.
200% yes.
Lowry Mark.
Yes.
Larry Markkinen. Brandon Ingram.
Yes.
Come on. Drew Holiday.
Yes.
Okay. Pascal Siakam.
Yes.
Kawhi Leonard.
No.
Okay. De'Aaron Fox. Tough one. This is right around where I stopped too.
This is where, I'll say no on this one because De'Aaron's probably going to play more games. Well, of course he's going to play more games.
There's a couple above it. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis.
He'll be better, yes.
Here's the two. Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes.
Karl Anthony Towns is 20th on this list.
Come on now.
And then it goes Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Jamal Murray, Bam Adebayo. And then I'm like, okay, I get that. If he was in like the 20s, I think I would understand. But him going all the way to 35 to me, are they just holding the 25-game suspension against him?
I don't know why. I think that's the thing, right? Like when you start to look at some of the guys that are ahead of them, we have question marks on health. I've seen Kawhi Leonard miss 25 games.
Brandon Ingram played 45 games.
I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like Kawhi Leonard being this low on this list to me is ridiculously disrespectful. Paul George being this low, and I get it, right? But like, there's got to be a rhyme or reason to why you do things. I want to see consistency in why you do things. I don't mind lists. I mind when you don't have consistency in your list, and this list doesn't show any consistency because yes, Ja Morant will not play 25 games because of the suspension from the NBA. The whole thing that happened with the off the court issues has nothing to do with his basketball skill. Guess what? Kawhi Leonard didn't play 25. I don't even know how many games he missed last season, right? A lot, right? Like, but realistically speaking, when Kawhi Leonard's on the court, you can argue that Kawhi Leonard's one of the best players in the NBA, a top 4 player in the NBA. Like, he's one of the best 3-point shooters, one of the best post scorers, one of the best mid-range shooters, one of the best defenders in the NBA. What do you want him to be bad at? So where's the rhyme or reason to your list? You can't have Kawhi that much higher, and you've got Ja falling completely out of the top 10 because of the 25 games. Guess what? The first 25 games we don't care about.
Honestly, I mean, so if he misses the first 25 games, and let's say that's it, he plays the rest. That's 57 games he'll play this season. How many times over the last 6 years has Kawhi Leonard played 57 games?
Once.
One time. 2018-19. He played 52 games, 0 games with the ACL, 52, 57, 60, and 9 games over the last 6 seasons. So if they're just holding back the suspension, to me, that totally doesn't make any sense. If they think that maybe the suspension will be longer, then yeah. But the question is not which player will have the best stats, will accumulate the best stuff over the seasons. Which player will be better? No. And the year before, these are the players they listed above Ja Morant. The year before, this was the 2022-2023 list. Giannis, Jokic, Luka, Embiid, Steph, LeBron, Tatum, Durant. That's it. Then it was Ja. He rose 22 spots. He won Most Improved the year before. And so maybe this is a way overcorrection of we put Ja way too high. We put him at 9th, and then now let's dock him all the way back to 35. I can't come up with a reason why Jalen Brunson would be better than Ja Morant or be better in a season than Ja Morant would be.
Now, listen, I get it, right? Like, I will say this. Your best ability is availability. I'm just asking for consistency in the list.
Disagree. Like, I would disagree. I would much rather have Ja Morant for 57 games than Jalen Brunson for like 70 games. Ja Morant is that good.
Depends on which 57 I'm getting. Am I getting the first 57 or am I getting the last 57? You know what I mean? Like, it really
57 is enough, though, that in that sample size, you're getting enough of Ja Morant.
Well, what I'm saying is, right, like for Ja, it's worked out where that guy's been available Ja's been available to play in the playoffs, right? But if I got a guy like Kawhi Leonard has played, 52 games, whatever it was you just said, right? And then the part where he's not playing is the end of the season heading into the playoffs. So for me, your best ability is still availability, right? Like I'd rather have a guy that's on the court and able to play, but Ja Morant's going to be on the court and able to play. Last season, Ja Morant missed time because of the whole thing that went down last year, but it was minuscule time. More time that he missed last season was due to was that season before? Due to injury, right? Like he had an injury, comes back from injury, balls out in the playoffs, right? So for me, Ja Morant, I just want a rhyme or reason to the list, and I don't see one here. And the people that you have above them, right? Like, listen. Jimmy Butler, I love Jimmy. Is Jimmy better than Ja Morant?
Yes.
Jimmy's better than Ja Morant?
The Jimmy we saw, you talk about availability and playoffs.
Playoff Jimmy. Jimmy is better than Ja Morant.
And I'll take that Jimmy. And also, Ja Morant has performed in the playoffs. It's not like he didn't perform in the playoffs either, or he was terrible. So to me, this whole thing, the reason why I brought it up is
Mitchell? Donovan Mitchell?
Donovan Mitchell's great in the playoffs. He's great last year in the regular season. I almost gave him like an MVP vote in the regular season last year.
Yeah, but is he better than Ja Morant? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think so. But the thing is, to me, they overcorrected on Ja Morant, and now it's way too low. They way overcorrected on it. 35 seems to be insanely low for Ja Morant. He's being disrespected. I'll do the whole thing. I'll take up for Grizzlies fans and Ja Morant on this one. All right, coming up, the NBA GM survey. The NBA asked their GMs a bunch of questions. We're going to talk about which ones we agree with and which ones we disagree with coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel has you covered with all kinds of action for the NBA, NFL. You can put some money on the Bears. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but you can put money on Pat's Bears. If you're
going to win this Sunday. Hey, or they could put money on your Bengals.
Hey, 2 wins. Two wins.
Hey.
Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Go ahead and check it out. They have all kinds of NBA stuff as well. If you feel good about some of the player awards or to make the playoffs, they got in-season tournament already. I mean, what's the number? Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you're betting on the in-season tournament. Maybe.
In-season tournament is decent. If you're betting on preseason, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
No, if you're betting on the in-season tournament now, if you're betting on it in the moment, I get that. That's going to be fun. But if you're betting on who's going to win the in-season tournament, Milwaukee Bucks plus 950, you're not even getting good odds on the. All right, go check it out. FanDuel.com/LockedOn as I degrade one of our sponsors. Shout out to Locked On. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA, being part of the show, listening every day. We have a daily Locked On show that covers your team. Check the link in the description to find a show that covers your team every day. All right, Pat, the NBA GM survey comes out. They've done it every year. They've done it for like over a decade now. You can go back and look at the archives on it. I find it really interesting. So I wanted to figure out one thing that we disagreed with and one thing we agreed with when it comes to the NBA GM survey. I'm going to give you the one I agree with first. Okay, which team's level of success is the toughest to predict? They asked 30 GMs this question. I feel like the Family Feud host. We asked 30 GMs. Which team's level of success is the toughest to predict? You pine. They put the Sixers first. They got 30% of the vote. Mavericks tied for second at 13%. The Sixers one has to be the team that I'm having the hardest time. What could they be this year? So this is one I agree with.
I'm with you on that. I'm 100% with you on that. I think that the Sixers are the biggest question mark in the Eastern Conference right now, outside of maybe the Atlanta Hawks, because if we're being honest, right, like we're just acting like James Harden is just going to be accepted back into the fold with Joel Embiid.
I don't think we're assuming that.
Are we? No, I'm talking about Philly, right? Like Philly's just like he's just
yeah, right. Look,
if I'm the GM, everything that James has done. If I'm Daryl Morey, everything that James has done, don't show up. Like, because I know that you're going to disrupt
the team
is doing here.
The problem is he has to because of the new CBA. If he doesn't show up, then he can't be a free agent next summer.
Listen, I'll take care of all of that, right? Like I'll deal with all of that. Hey, listen, it's an NBA team. Let's not act like they don't have power, right? Like, hey, James Harden is in the building.
I don't know.
He's getting massages. He's at the club that we have in the back. Yeah, I mean, like I'm taking, but I'm telling James, we don't want you around the team, right? I've seen teams do this with Kyrie Irving. I've seen teams do this with John Wall. I've seen teams do this because I already know what kind of energy you're bringing to this team, and I don't want that in the building. When I just brought in a brand new head coach, and Nick Nurse, who's trying to establish his system and dominance among these players.
What's the ceiling, by the way? You say they've got power and these NBA GMs have power. In Vegas, when I went to Summer League, I saw Daryl Morey in like basketball shorts and a baseball hat. And to me, it just took away all the mystique. I don't think he's got any. You know, when like you see a teacher outside of school and you see them like at the grocery, you're like, oh, she's got.
The best thing ever was I saw a teacher at the liquor store one day, and I was like, "We are stressing you out. Like I can see it in your face. You're fighting for your life right now."
You're a regular. You're a regular.
You are here. They was like, "Hey, Joe." I was like, "Jesus."
Put the punch card away. What's the ceiling and the floor for the Sixers if they're the team that's the toughest to predict? Because to me, it's like I could see them as a second-round team, depending on the matchup. I could also see them missing the postseason entirely, like the Mavericks did last year.
How quickly do they dismiss James Harden? That's the question.
Well, even if they don't, he's going to show up and not play. That's the thing, right? Like,
it's fine, but like you know when you're not a part of the team, you're not a part of the team, right? We've seen players have that where it's like
Ben Simmons.
He exists here, but he's not really a part of the team, right? Like to me, that's when they finally make that decision. That's when you'll start to see the Sixers be the Sixers. Because listen, there's still a ton of talent on this team. They may be not as deep without James Harden, but I still like Tyrese Maxey. I've liked Tyrese Maxey for 3 years. I think he's a baller. I think he should have been the starting point guard in throughout all of this. But you were so excited to go get James Harden. I think Tobias Harris is a good basketball player. When you don't go, Tobias, stand in that corner, wait for the ball to come to you, and then shoot it. I really do think Tobias Harris can play basketball when
Tobias
you don't do that.
For $40 million?
You know what I mean? Like, now listen, Tobias Harris over Jimmy? Tobias Harris over me? I don't know about that one, right?
That's one of the toughest lines.
It is what it is. But no,
what's the floor? What's the floor then? Could you see them missing the playoffs?
I think floor is play in.
That's what we would have said about the Mavericks last year.
Yeah, I think floor is play in. I agree. I agree with what they said, right? It's a wide range on this team. Like it's going to be really tough to guess.
In the East is not nearly as tough. If they were in the West, then maybe I would say that because it's real deep in the West. But you got teams in the East that you could see falling off or not going the direction they wanted to. All right, give me a thing that you either agree with or disagree with on the.
Here's my one that I disagree with. Which one player acquisition will make the biggest impact?
Yeah.
Number one is Damian Lillard. By 47%.
Well, they lost in the first round last year.
I disagree with it for this reason. They still won 51 games last season.
Okay.
Are they going to win 52? Like they were still
they won 58 games last year.
58?
Yeah.
Oh, it went to the 2021-22 season. My bad. 2022-23. Okay, even more. 58 games
your
last
point
season.
Gets emphasized with
yeah, even more, right? 58 games last season. Like, what is Damian Lillard going to add? And I think the part that a lot of people overlook. Now, look, he's gonna be an elite player on the team. I'm not saying that he's not gonna be elite, but the Milwaukee Bucks weren't a bad basketball team. You added riches to the rich. They're still rich.
You take Drew Holiday off the team. Put Damian Lillard. Broke Giannis, who was injured in that series. Mm-hmm. Against the Heat. Do the Bucks still lose if Damian Lillard is there instead of Drew Holiday?
If Damian Lillard's the only player?
I mean, it's still him, your boy Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez. Like they still had.
Listen, I'm well dodocumented on how I feel about Chris Middleton.
I know. I think they win that series if they have Damian Lillard instead of Drew Holiday because they need scoring.
Does Damian Lillard stop Drew? Does Damian Lillard stop Jimmy Butler from scoring 50?
No, but neither did Drew Holiday.
Exactly.
Jimmy Butler they needed somebody to match him. They needed someone to match him, and they needed They needed a guy like Damian Lillard. They didn't have it. Now they do, and so that's where the impact is coming. They're not going to lose in the first round.
Can Jimmy Butler still guard Damian Lillard though? Now he's not going to stop him.
No one stops anyone anymore.
He can make Damian Lillard's life much harder. I'm going to be honest with you. I think number 2 is the biggest get. Drew Holiday to Boston to me makes a bigger impact on Boston than Damian Lillard makes on the Milwaukee Bucks. The part that also nobody's talking about with Dame, and listen, I want to see it. I'm a Bulls fan, and I actually want to see Dame and Milwaukee be successful. I like Dame that much, but Dame has not been a healthy player. Like that doesn't just go away because he's not in Portland anymore.
Well, they also just got in trouble and fined because they sat him the end of the last 2 seasons for a ton of games for reasons he didn't need to. I think he'll be back. The Drew Holiday one, that one to me is not a big impact at all because you go from Marcus Smart, the defensive player of the year a couple years ago, to Drew Holiday. It's like, okay, That's
you go to a guy that's
an upgrade, but to me, the bigger impact is going to be Porzingis because he brings the offensive versatility they didn't have in Robert Williams. Like that upgrade to me is a bigger impact than the Drew Holiday one. Looks like a big impact because they didn't have Smart, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we don't have like perimeter defenders besides Derek White and our two wings that do a lot on offense. And they're like, all right, now let's bring in Drew Holiday. Now it looks like a big impact, but going from Marcus Smart to Drew Holiday is not as big of an impact to me as Porzingis.
I think. I'm not even looking at it from the defensive aspect of it. I'm looking at it from the guy that to me can actually, this is not your turn, my turn. This is, we're going to run a system here, guys.
Yeah, and be at like the third, fourth option at times. That's going to be big. That's true. I want to do the one I disagree with, and then we'll move on. Which team will have the league's most efficient offense? Okay, Nuggets number 1, Sacramento Kings number 2, Warriors number 3, Celtics number 4, Bucks and Suns tied with 2 votes each at 5. Also receiving votes, Mavericks. Okay. I think they should have more, but that's fine. Also receiving votes, the Miami Heat to have the most efficient offense this season. Pat the Designer, do you know where the Miami Heat ranked in offensive efficiency last season?
It wasn't good.
That is correct. Where was it?
I want to say they were like 27th?
25, very close.
Okay, I was close.
25th in the NBA. They average 113.3 points per 100 possessions. That team, whoever voted for this must have read the question wrong. There's no way that some GM out there or some proxy for a GM, like whoever they set up, the assistant or the video room guy or whatever, who answered this question thought that the Miami Heat are going to have the most efficient offense. That's just, first of all, not what they do. And second of all, they would have to jump up a ton from last season.
Listen, I mean,
you lost me there.
To me, it's all falling on the shoulders of Jaime Jaquez, man. That's why they couldn't move on from
Did you see his pump fake? I was thinking about you when I saw his pump fake on Gordon Hayward.
Come on now. I mean, like this guy's the answer. No, here's what I will say. And I think that I don't know if they're going to keep this together, but if they do and they actually can unlock something with it, I can see why they would vote this way, because you're going to get Hero and Duncan together. Hero and Duncan are both elite 3-point shooters.
No, I'm out.
And they actually can shoot the basketball. But all of a sudden, Duncan couldn't score anymore. Like he
picked it up in the playoffs. He was better in the playoffs.
And got better in the playoffs. So, like, when you kind of find that and you're trying to fine-tune that dynamic, I guess I could see it from that sense. But, like,
you can't go from you're not going 25-1 with Tyler Hero, who played last year, right? He didn't play in the playoffs, but he played.
Tyler Hero played. No, I'm saying they kind of like Spo kind of was like, all right, Duncan, you're the starter. Ooh, this ain't good.
And then he just didn't play him anymore.
And then just stopped playing him. Like,
no, I'm out on that. All right, coming up.
I don't like it.
I know. I had to get rid of the song, but count it up. Where we count on the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. We got to talk about the summer of Kai.
Dragon Ball Z
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA. Tomorrow's show, Adam Mares, Wes Goldberg will talk about more NBA stuff. They'll break down everything within the NBA. We got a daily show for you here on Locked On NBA. But now it's time for the new drop that I hate. Count it up. Where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. I had to get rid of the song. I'm sorry.
Old school drawer, though. Old school drawer.
Very old school drawer. Kai Jones had a week, man. It's Kai Jones week right now. Kai Jones was a second-year player for the Charlotte Hornets, and he's been going through it. He had a video where it looked like he was tweaking on camera, just going crazy and saying words that didn't really make a ton of sense. He had a
good use of tweaking there.
He had that's quite literally the definition of what he was doing on camera. He had a moment where he was replying to Instagram comments about how he's better than Nick Richards and better than Mark Williams, who are players on his team. Yep. And then he announced his own trade request on Twitter, deleted it, and then reposted it by capitalizing all of the letters in the hashtag that he used. He announced his trade request, which, by the way, is a $150,000 fine for announcing your own trade request. So just lit that $150K on fire. Then he was He was waived by the Hornets the next day. Terrence Ross asked on Instagram, is he all there mentally? And Kai Jones responded, I'm the greatest of all time. Check my highlights. And Terrence Ross then replied to him, so no. My question is, how long would you want your team to wait before you would sign Kai Jones?
After Ragnarok?
Never can be an option, I guess. You're just out on Kai Jones.
What's there to be in on? He's 3 points a game and he jumps. Like, I'm not impressed by tall black guys that jump, bro. Like, what are we talking about here? Like what I'm sorry, is this not the NBA? Like, what the heck does Kai Jones do? Kai Jones at best is what, 2 points a game? Like 7 minutes? Like, what am I talking about with Kai Jones?
3.4 points a game last year, by the way. Thank you very much. He's got some skill. I'll say that. He's athletic. He's got some skill. The problem is,
name me Kai Jones' best play. That's not a dunk.
Best play. Name the Hornets' best play last year. I don't know. Like, how many Hornets games are you?
That's not a dunk. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it comes down to, bro. Like, listen, he's sitting there talking about I'm the greatest of all time. Yeah, check my highlights. Your highlights aren't even better than Terrence Ross's in Toronto, bro. Like, what's the
Terrence Ross has a highlight reel, but to me, you gotta wait. Like, I have no, like, there's no telling what's going on with Kai Jones right now.
Listen, this is what people need to understand. I get it. It's 2023, right? Everybody has to love each other, all of that, right? And I do hope that if he is having mental issues, that he gets the help that he needs, that people are able to support him around the NBA and kind of go check on the young man, because he seems like he's going through some things and somebody need to check up on him and maybe not clown him. But at the end of the day, we do have to realize that certain things are a privilege. They're not a right. You don't have a right to play in the NBA. You don't have a right to play for the Charlotte Hornets. I get it. They're the Hornets, right? It's the one of the bottom feeder teams in the league. It's still a right to be one of the 450 people to ever play to play in the NBA. Like, no. And when you do stupid stuff like this, guess what? You get stupid prizes. That's the world that I grew up in, and that's the world that I believe in. And guess what? This was stupid. Now, if there's a reason that it was stupid, if there's a mental thing and a mental aspect of it, get the young man some help so that he can live out his dream. But you don't just get the right to be in the NBA. And I think that the NBA is finally pushing back on that, because it started feeling like a lot of these players started being like, this is my right to be here. No, it's not. These people allow you to play here. You want to take out, you want to do the whole, like, we're going to go out and we're going to start our own league and we're going to make it. That's fine. You can do what you want in your league. But in Adam Silver's league, he's not going to allow this. And I respect the Hornets for being like, all right, bet, you're out of here. Now, granted, if it was LaMelo Ball, they would probably treat this very different, right? Like, I also understand the politics that go into it. But being in the NBA is not your right. There are very many people, and I'm gonna tell you this right now: your per 36 minutes aren't the reason that you're on the team, bro.
He did average 15 and 8 for the Greensboro Swarm last year in 14 games in the G League. So, Dillon Brooks appeared in his first Houston Rockets.
You know it's bad when you shift to a Dillon Brooks topic to make the conversation better. That's when you know it's getting ugly out here.
Dillon Brooks played 5 minutes in his preseason debut before he grabbed, tugged, he pushed up on, he uppercutted Daniel Tice right in the junk. My question is, how many dicks will Dillon Brooks hit this year?
Is there an over-under on this?
Hold on, let me go back to the FanDuel website. Do we have props? Does FanDuel have props on Dillon Brooks?
Oh, God. This is... I'm going to say, if there's a line here, I'm taking the over. I'm not going to lie to you.
All right, I'll give you a line. 4.5. And I don't mean like a half. I mean like you got either 5.
I thought you meant a half. You know, like when I don't know if you guys, every guy's been there, right? When it gets lightly grazed, you go, did he just? Oh, he did. Yeah.
What's the temperature in this gym today?
It almost hurts more. I'm not going to lie. The graze almost hurts more than the solid hit. If you're a guy, you understand right now.
Over under 4.5 dick hits for Dillon Brooks this year.
Pause.
Penis punches. You would rather
double pause. Well, hopefully not for Dillon. I'm gonna take. You know what? I'm not gonna take I'll take the under. I'll say
okay.
Right.
All right, you give it.
I'll take the. I'll take the because I'm not gonna lie to you.
Spend 5 minutes into his preseason debut. He got ejected. He's played 5 professional minutes for the Houston Rockets.
Listen. At a certain point, you got 10 dudes on the court. Somebody's getting hit. I don't think that was the intentional one. I think you'll know if it's intentional. You know what I mean? Like Dillon Brooks doesn't have a propensity to hiding the things that he does. I think you'll know if it's intentional. I think that was actually just trying to run through, and Daniel Tice got in the way. Daniel Tice's Tice got in the way. You know what I mean?
All right, last. Yeah, there you go. We'll end on the Dillon Brooks. It's not. It doesn't get better than Dillon Brooks at this point. There you go. Let us know in the comment section what's your favorite team and what team you're following, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye bye.
Boom.